In this class we will understand the parameterization process and see how to apply basic parameterizations in the design of parts. Come on, let's go. In many cases, it is necessary to tie measurements into a drawing, so that due to a change, other geometries are changed automatically. In the Inventor, we can do this by creating rules, which we call parameterization. With parameterization we increase the productivity of the realization of the project, and also make it more reliable. This is because when we change a measure, other geometries tied to it will change automatically. This avoids the error of forgetting to change some measure manually, since the inventor will make the necessary changes depending on the rules entered. Now let's learn the most basic parameterizations in part modeling. Since the parameterization will be in one piece, we will use the standard template, IPT. We created a sketch with the geometry shown. We insert the necessary constraints for centering the part, using the horizontal and vertical constraints. We insert the length of the workpiece as shown. Let's parameterize the dimension of the height of the part, adding the following rule: the height should always be equal to the length, regardless of its value. To do this, we create the dimension, and instead of entering a value, we will insert a rule. Since the height should always be equal to the length, just click on the quota that defines the length of the piece. See that instead of the number appeared the name D0, which is the name the inventor gives for the first quota created, but this is not important at this time. We confirm the operation and see that the quota is fx50, which means that it is parameterized, that is, depending on another measure, and its value is 50 mm. See that if we change the value of the length, the height is also changed, always keeping the same value, according to the rule we added. Let's create another dimension, with the following rule: this dimension should always be half the length, regardless of its value. To do this, we create the dimension, and instead of entering a value, we insert the rule, clicking on the reference dimension, which is the length. And then inserting the split symbol, which is the slash, and by how much we divide, which in this case will be 2. OK, this dimension is the value of the length divided by 2, and see that if we change the value of the length, this measure will always be your half. In the case of this other measure, it should always be 10 mm smaller than the height. To do this, we create the dimension and we insert the rule. We click on the reference dimension, in this case the height, we insert the minus symbol, which is the trace, and how much we will subtract, which in this case is 10. See that this dimension is 10 mm smaller than the height. Note that the only dimension that we must change is the length of the part, because all other measurements are parameterized in relation to it. If we change another measure, we lose the parameterization to her. Note that when changing the length of the part, all other measurements are changed, keeping the rules entered. the height will always be equal to the length, this measure will always be half the length, and this other measure will always be 10 mm smaller than the height. Another type of parameterization that can be created is by using a mathematical operation. Let's change the value of the length for the mathematical operation 35 times 2. We can check the list of parameters in Inventor, through the command Parameters, located in the Manage tab. We can see the name that Inventor automatically creates for each inserted dimension, in ascending order. We also see the parameterization that has been created, that is, the rules, or depending on what values this dimension is formed. In this class we understood the parameterization process and saw how to apply basic parameterizations in the design of parts.